Well, hiya, BookTube. Bill Ruttenberg here with the Ruttenberg Library. Wanted to come to you today with another book tag. Seems how we are about a quarter of the way through the year. I thought it would be appropriate to do the quarter year book tag. I saw this on James Holder's channel, and the original was done by Rogine at Rogine's Reading. And so I would highly recommend you to go check out their channel. I'll leave the links down below in the description. Both are wonderful channels. And so, like I said, I thought it'd be appropriate. Almost or a little over a quarter of the year is gone already. Can you believe that? I cannot believe we're a week into April. But anyway, let's go ahead and get started. So what this tag is basically a review of the last 3 months of your reading. What have you read? What's good? What's bad? Are you on pace with different goals for your reading? So first question is, how many books have you read so far? And so yesterday I printed out my spreadsheet of the books that I've read, and after counting them out, I have read 13 fiction, 8 nonfiction, for a total of 21 books in the January, February, March timeframe, these last 3 months. So it's about 7 books a month. And definitely the reason that number is as high as it is I've been reading a lot more fiction these last 2 years than what I would normally read. And so the fiction reads a lot faster than nonfiction. So my numbers have went up. We noticed that last year when I did my end of the year book tag for 2021. It was like a 2-to-1 ratio of fiction to nonfiction. And that's like totally opposite of what I normally do. So I have seen my book counts go up. I am on a very good pace, for me anyway. I know lots of you read way more books than I do, but for me, this is a pretty good pace. So question number 2, have you already found a book you think might be a 2022 favorite? If not, what was your favorite book you read that wasn't quite 5-star? I read 2 books that quite possibly could be at the top of my favorites list for 2022. I did a buddy read on the Hemingses of Monticello. I thought that book was wonderful. I thought Annette Gordon-Reed did an excellent job of looking through the history of the Hemings family with Thomas Jefferson and his family, and just analyzed that relationship down to the most minute detail. And I thought she did a great job. I loved the book. It was a Pulitzer Prize winner, several years back. And so I did like that one. It could end up at the top, but maybe even a notch above that for me. And this book could end up as the best book I've read all year. Although I do have plans for reading quite a few more what are supposed to be really good, biographies and history. So I don't know if it'll last, but right now it is definitely a contender. And that was The Rise of Theodore Roosevelt, and it was by Edmund Morris, and that was volume 1 in his trilogy over Teddy Roosevelt. And I do plan on trying to get volume 2 done this year. When I get that done, I'm not sure, but I do want to try to get that accomplished. I do have big plans for the summer and my reading during the summer. I recently resigned from my baseball position as assistant coach for the high school. And so I am looking at having a lot more time on my hands for the summer. I know I got to get some curriculum work done for my classroom, but I'm also planning on getting some reading done and trying to get my videos a little bit more regular throughout the summer. And Roosevelt Volume 2 might be on that hit list of books I get read during the summer. So, question number 3. Are there any 1-star books or least favorite books of the year? I have not read any. Thankfully, I have not read any 1-star books. No books that are that bad based on my opinions. But probably my least favorite, and again, not a 1-star book, it's just not my favorite, was The Crisis of Empire, Great Britain and the American Colonies from 1754 to 1783. I was disappointed in this book because I really love reading about that time period. I do find it very fascinating. And the author he did a good job with the material in the book, like what's in it. It's just the writing style I did not care for. It was extremely slow paced, and it was rough to get through, and it was like a teeny tiny book. It was only 100 couldn't even have been 150 pages. It was not very long. I can't remember exactly how many pages it was, but it was not very long, and it took me a while to get through it just because it was so slow paced. And I like the information, but it could have been presented in a little bit better style. So moving on. Question number 4. The most read genre so far. And for me, I was kind of trying to tally up stuff. And I got to be honest, with the fiction stuff, I have troubles with putting fiction into the particular categories they're supposed to go in. I am not a fiction guru, so I'm not really a professional at that. So I did have 9 just general nonfiction books, and I'm sure they would be put into subcategories. I don't know how to do it. I'm not going to try. So I'm going to move on to a different category. I did read 4 mysteries. So I'm not counting my mysteries in that general fiction because I know they're mysteries. So I've read 4 mysteries so far this year. And I've also read 4 biographies, 3 general works of American history, and 1 memoir. So if the most read would be mystery and biography. So mystery for fiction, biography for nonfiction. And I didn't really know how to classify. I am putting the Hemingses of Monticello into the biography section. That might be stretching it a bit. It might be more of a general history, but it was a biography of the family. And so I don't know. I'm juggling with that one. So I put it into the biography section. Excuse me. Question number 5, a book that surprised you. So I've been making an attempt to go back and read different classics of literature. And I have been pleasantly surprised that I have enjoyed them a little bit more than I thought I would. I was kind of hesitant and didn't know. I mean, that's basically the reason I put them off this far or this long. And so 3 of them that I chose was The Great Gatsby by F. Scott Fitzgerald. My wife loved that book, but I don't tend to like that era of writing for the most part. It doesn't go well with me. I don't usually care for it, but I did enjoy that story, and I hope to someday do a buddy read with my wife on that, and we read it at the same time, and then maybe I can get her on film and do her thoughts on the book. But anyway, maybe something for the future. I wouldn't hold my breath, BookTube. Another one that I recently read was Animal Farm by George Orwell. And I had, during my first 2 years of teaching, there was an English teacher that I worked with at West Platte, and she just raved about this book, Animal Farm. And I had put it off and put it off and put it off. And it's always been on my TBR, my long-term TBR, that it's a book I want to try. She talked so much about that book. I wanted to give it a shot. And I did. I read that, was it 2 weeks ago? And really enjoyed it. I thought it was pretty good, pretty amazing what Orwell did with his parallel universe to communism in the world at that time. He did it on a farm with animals. If you're not familiar with the story, it was pretty interesting, pretty short book. I'd recommend anybody to try reading it. It's not very difficult to understand. And then the other one that I had put off for a long time was Agatha Christie's Then There Were None. Her possibly, arguably, her most famous of all of her mystery works. It's the one that everybody told me if I'm going to try Agatha Christie, that's the one I need to read. And so I read that during March Mystery Madness, and I really enjoyed it. I thought Agatha Christie did an excellent job. I did not know who did it until the very end when when she does that. It's like an epilogue basically, and tells how it all worked. So she totally had me stumped, and I thought it was wonderful. I do have some other Agatha Christie down here on the shelf that I'm gonna pull out and read and give it a shot, and I hope I enjoy it as much as I enjoyed this book. Let's see. Question number 6. A book that's come out in 2022 already that you want to read but you haven't. Okay, so this is a book that I saw, was it Steve Donahue that had it, and maybe Peg at the History Shelf? I can't remember which one had it. Maybe both of them had it, and I'm just not remembering. But it was Ways and Means, Lincoln and His Cabinet and the Financing of the Civil War by Roger Lowenstein. So I would really like to pick that book up and read it. I have not purchased it yet. I hope to maybe see it marked down somewhere, and maybe I could pick it up. It'll probably be a few months before I do, because it's still fairly new. It came out, I believe, in March is when it came out, but I really look forward to reading that. As you guys know, that if you follow the channel, I'm a Lincoln guy. I read a lot of Lincoln, and so I just think that would be a pretty interesting book and right up my alley. Question number 7. One goal you made that you're succeeding at. And so I actually put a couple goals on here just for, discussion purposes here. So one of the goals that a lot of us booktubers set at the very beginning of the year, January 1st, we have a TBR for the whole year. Some books that we plan on getting read throughout the year. And on my video for my 2022 TBR, I had listed 5 works of fiction and 12 nonfiction. And so the 12 nonfiction is kind of a staple. I always do a dozen, at least one per month is my thought. So I went through that. I went back to that TBR video and went through those books that I had listed. And I'm doing okay. I don't know that I'm doing great, but I'm doing okay. It's still very possible that I can get this list done. I'm a little bit behind. I have read the books that I've knocked off my list for my TBR 2022, And Then There Were None by Agatha Christie, From Russia with Love by Ian Fleming, The Rise of Theodore Roosevelt, Volume 1 by Edmund Morris, and The Hemingses of Monticello by Annette Gordon-Reed. I've got those all knocked off my list. 2 fiction, 2 nonfiction, and I'm right now I am reading Winter of the World, which is Volume 2 of the Century Trilogy by Ken Follett. Wonderful book. I picked it up for March of the Mammoths. I probably didn't knock out as much of the book as I should have, but I am still working on that. I'm kind of, it's right behind me here on the shelf. I'm picking my way through that. I'm almost 200 pages into it, and it's a 970-page book, I think. So, I'm picking my way through it, and it's really good. I just have a whole bunch of other books I'm reading at the same time. So that's the only reason I'm not making more progress in that book. It's excellent. Highly recommend it. I'm also working on Robert E. Lee, A Life by Alan Guelzo, which is right there, the bottom of those 3 books. I'm buddy reading that, thoroughly enjoying it. Again, I'm reading a lot of other books, and we've set a pace of just a couple chapters a week. Peg and I, we're buddy reading that, and she does a whole lot of reviewing and stuff over on her channel. She's got I think I have a big stack of books. She's got a big stack of books that she works on. So we're just picking our way through it, doing a couple chapters at a time, and we hope to, at the end, do a buddy chat or a review of sorts of the book, and go through and pick each other's brains on what we found in the book, and then maybe even open that up to a discussion with BookTube being able to send in questions. And so I have never done that myself, so that'll be a new one for me, and I'm not sure if Peg's done it or not, but it sounded like that would be new for her too, so we're going to experiment on that. So getting back to that original goal, So that means I have 2 more works of fiction that I have to get knocked off the list: Homeland by John Jakes and American Dreams by John Jakes. Those are both from the same series. And then I have, 9 books for my nonfiction that I still have to get read. And that is Grant by Ron Chernow, Field of Blood by, and of course I did not write the authors, Joanne Freeman, The Cause by Joseph Ellis, Meade at Gettysburg, Ordeal of the Union, Volume 1 by Alan Nevins, The Washingtons by Flora Fraser, 1914 Europe Goes to War by Max Hastings, Wrestling with His Angel by Sidney, which is a Lincoln biography, Volume 2 in that, and that's by Sidney Blumenthal, and then Marie Antoinette by, oh goodness, where'd that book go? Where'd I put it? Yep, can't find it. Not going to spend a bunch of time. But anyway, I still have several books that I have to knock off that list, and I'm hoping this summer I can really get attacking that list. The other goals that I had for myself that I'm succeeding at, I had set my mark at, since I read 81 books last year, I'm setting it at 85 this year. I'm going to up the ante and see if I can hit the 85 mark. I am 21 books in, so I'm almost on pace. I'm pretty close. I'm like 1 book back of being on pace. So 21 times 4 would be 84. My goal is 85. And I just finished a book this morning. So, I'm right there. And then also for another goal that I set for myself that I'm succeeding at, and this is not just for 2022, this extends back into 2021, but for my school year, I set the goal of reading 40 books during the school year. Now, keep in mind, I was reading mostly nonfiction when I set that goal. And so 40, getting those 40 done could sometimes be, I could be cutting it close on some years, depending on which books I'm reading. But since I've added in a lot more fiction, I need to up the ante a little bit. I think next year I need to maybe set a goal of maybe 60, 50, 60, somewhere in there. But to this point, 40 was my goal. I've read 58. I believe it's 58 books this school year. So I'm doing really well. I got a month and a half of school left, so we're on pace there. So question number 8, one goal you made that you need to focus on. Okay, so it was my goal in March. March got a little busier than what I was expecting. I knew the pace of life was going to pick up, but it picked up a lot more than I thought. And I had quite a few mornings where when I was sitting in the chair, I just didn't feel like reading, and that definitely hurt my reading. So I had been sent by Steve Donahue. He sent me a big old stack of Philip R. Craig mysteries, the Martha's Vineyard mystery books. I had planned on reading at least 2, if not 4, of those books in March, because it only takes you, if you sit down for a decent span of time, you can read those in a few hours. You can do it in one sitting or 2 days, 1 to 2 days. And I did not read them. My wife made me clean up my little library table here because we were having company over. And then so they're in a box upstairs, but I am going to read them definitely this summer, because I remember last summer it was excellent to sit in the recliner and just sit back and read those mysteries. And if I fell asleep, and I just pick up where I left off when I woke back up. So I plan on getting those done. And then my March of the Mammoths I've had several of you ask me if I can get to it, if you can see it there. There's Gone with the Wind. I am working on that book. I have not given up on it. My daughter's life has been chaotic. I'm doing a buddy read with my daughter on that one. And our plan was, since the book is broken up into several parts, we were going to do a video for each part. And I just found some discussion questions online that we're going to use to help guide our discussion. And we've had part 1 done for like 4 weeks now, and we have not moved anywhere in that book for 4 weeks. She, at work, she works as a dispatch officer and works as a jailer out at the sheriff's office. And so her schedule is, she works, they got 3 shifts, and she kind of bounces around, and it's kind of chaotic. And so her sleep schedule is very, very rough. And sometimes she struggles to get sleep and everything. And then, we went on vacation there, and then she recently picked up another job to help her with, just making ends meet, just like anybody else. And so we have not sat down for part 1 discussion video. I am to the point where I'm about ready to just start reading because I really enjoyed the book. I like how it's written. She's got her style of writing, Margaret Mitchell's style of writing, just grabs you and pulls you into the story. Doesn't mean you have to like all the characters, because Scarlett's character she's something else. She is, you talk about a spoiled, selfish brat. She is definitely in that category. But that is something we need to focus on. I need to focus on. I want to get that book. That's another classic that I had not read that I really want to get knocked off my list. So those of you that have asked me about that, I have not given up on it. I'm still sitting at whatever page 139 or whatever that first part of the book is, and I've been waiting on my daughter, but I might start moving forward, and because her copy is actually sitting up here on the shelf, and she forgot to take it back home with her. So who knows when she's going to get it done. Maybe I do a review just by myself. Maybe I'll try that. All right, so that brings us to the very last prompt, and that is new to you booktubers, bookstagrammers, or booktokers. I don't know what a booktoker is, but anyway, for 2022 that you would recommend. Okay, so a new one that I came across was a week or 2 ago. His name's Colin, and his booktube page is called Page to Page, and he is a young guy. I think he's around 20. And he lives in North Carolina. He is a history lover, and I think he reads some other stuff too, but he's done some book hauls and talked about his love of history, and I think he majors in history. And so I would highly recommend going and checking him out. He's only got 3 videos up at this point. I think he's going to keep going, but he's only got 3 videos up. He's only got 6 subscribers. This guy needs some love. We need to go out and give him some subs. So if you are not familiar with Colin over at Page to Page, and I'll try to remember to leave a link to that down below in the description, but you need to go check him out. Go check out Colin's booktube channel. I think he could have, he could blow up into something good, or his channel could get bigger, and I think it could be something really, really good. He does a nice job, and like I said, I love listening to him talk about history with the different books he's going through. So with that all being said, again, this is the quarter year book tag, a really good way of looking at and evaluating your first quarter of the year and what you've gotten read and your goals for the future. And this was done by Roisin over at Roisin's Reading, and I saw it on James Holder's channel, and I know there's been a couple other ones that I noticed out there that I just hadn't had a chance to watch. But anyway, recommend everybody to do this tag. Feel free to look at your own reading. Thank you to all the new subscribers, and thank you for watching. And until next time, BookTube, happy reading.